Hello, ladies and gentlemen. George Cohn from the Lest We Forget World War II Museum in Louisville, Texas. Tonight I'd like to talk about the 442nd Regimental Combat Team. Now, there's something unusual about this gentleman. If you look at him, he's a Japanese fellow wearing an American uniform during World War II. But the 442nd Regimental Combat Team were Japanese-American volunteers from the internment camps on the West Coast. I don't know if y'all have ever heard the stories about once the war broke out against the Japanese, that President Roosevelt rounded up all the Japanese that were on the West Coast and put them in internment camps. They expropriated their properties and imprisoned them. And so the young Japanese American males wished to prove their loyalty to America, and they joined the military. And they put them in what was called the 442nd Regimental Combat Team, which happened to be the most decorated unit in the American Army in World War II. So I believe they were joined with the 100th Regiment, which was out of Hawaii. I think they called them Buddha heads. Those were guys that lived in Hawaii that were of Japanese descent. But the 442nd were Americans that lived in America. And so they were never attached to a division. They didn't have their own division as a regiment normally would, to my knowledge. But in Italy and in France, they were attached to the Texas 36th Infantry Division. And so after my father died, and I was attending the Texas 36th Infantry Division reunions to meet men that my father knew, one time I was there and all of a sudden all these Japanese guys pile in, and I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, hey, you guys, you're at the wrong reunion. And then they started talking, and they talked like me. And I kind of looked at them, and the head goes sideways. And then I understood that they were the 442nd Regimental Combat Team. And I thought, my goodness, who would have ever thought that they would be here now? But because they had been attached to the 36th Division, they wanted to go celebrate a reunion with their 36th Division. And they were fascinating guys. To be treated as harshly as they were, and then to fight for that country that treated you like that, that's very admirable. So at that reunion, there was a bunch of reenactors that came, and this was an interesting deal. I mean, these reenactors, they had everything. They had 30 calibers, 50 calibers. They had mortars, they had BARs, they had the whole kit and caboodle. I mean, it looked like you were in a little World War II time capsule. And so Wayne Kirby, a guy from the 36th Division that I was good friends with, he was a wild man. There was a half track out in the parking lot that they were giving rides to the veterans. And so I tagged along with Wayne Kirby, and I got to ride in the back of this American half track. So we're cruising along, they go from the parking lot and they go driving through the field. It's Texas out by DFW Airport, so there's plenty of fields at that time. This is in the, I guess, early 90s. We're driving through the field when the half track stops. They're having carburetor trouble with it. Well, imagine you're in combat and your half track stops. So they pile out and they open the hood and they're tinkering with it. And Wayne and I are sitting in the back seat, or the back of the half track, when we notice at the hotel, all these police cars are pulling up. And so Wayne's not worried, and I'm telling him, Wayne, I don't think it's a good idea that you and I are sitting in the back of this half track when it's got a 50 caliber mounted on the top of it. It may not be real, but those are cops, and let's get out of here. And so we bailed out of that half track and we went into the hotel. And I saw this cop, he had his hand on his pistol like this, and he was talking to some kid. He was a reenactor wearing a World War II uniform that was showing him his mortar. That cop was ready to draw down on him. So any event, there was a fellow there, a reenactor, that had a radio. He reenacted being a radio operator. And he showed this 442nd Regimental Combat Team veteran, the Japanese-American guy, this radio. And he said, I got this problem with it, and I can't make it do whatever. I can't remember, but... And that guy said, well, take it apart and do this. And the guy goes, well, I don't know how to do it. Do you know how to take it apart? And that old veteran looked at him, and he got that radio, and he stripped it down that quick. He took it apart. And that reenactor kid was just standing there, and he was just, and then he goes, can you put it back together? Which the guy proceeded to do pronto. So kudos to the 442nd Regimental Combat Team. There's one battle in France that I can think of off the top of my head that an outfit from the 36th Division got cut off up in the mountains, I want to say in the Vosges Mountains in the Alsace region of France in late 44. And they sent in the 442nd Regimental Combat Team to save those boys from the 36th Division. And it took them a while to fight their way up the hill, but they got up there and they got them out. And I don't remember the numbers exactly, but whatever they were equal. So say 150 men were killed from the Regimental Combat Team, the Japanese-American outfit, the 442nd, but they saved 150 men that were on top of the mountain. So they just basically traded the lives. In any event, kudos to the 442nd Regimental Combat Team, the Japanese-Americans that were the highest decorated outfit in the American military in World War II. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm always looking for items for the World War II Museum here. If y'all have anything, please contact me and we'll set something up. I'd like to display the items. Signing off, World War II Museum. Bye-bye.